Hello and welcome to Cyberside Chats. I'm Sherri Davidoff, the founder of LMG Security.
And I'm Matt Duran, the Director of Training and Research for LMG Security.
And today, I'm scared.
Why are you scared?
I'm scared because even though where you guys are, it's after the 4th of July, so you know what happened. It's only the 3rd of July when we're recording this. And I have a little PTSD from Kaseya and MOVEit, and you have PTSD from Krispy Kreme and all the other cyber attacks that happen on holiday weekends. Like, seriously, Matt, what is going to happen?
I have worse PTSD from Kaseya, let's be honest about that.
That was, what, you were floating down a river.
Yeah.
I had to deal with all the phone calls, thank you very much.
That wasn't my fault.
And then I told you about it afterwards. Yeah, okay, so every time a holiday comes around, especially holidays like the 4th of July, which are U.S. holidays, but not holidays elsewhere in the world, we see an uptick in cyber attacks. In fact, it's very clear that professional cyber attackers, ransomware gangs and the like, are planning to attack people on holiday weekends.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially like this time around when the holiday comes right on a Friday, so we have that long weekend.
Yep,
yeah.
And everybody's taking off this weekend. It's not like the 4th of July is a Wednesday, and maybe it's the weekend before, maybe it's the weekend after. So why do attackers like holiday weekends so much?
Well, I mean, it makes sense what you just said. Everyone is leaving.
Not everyone.
Not everyone, but
definitely
like,
your senior staff are like, I earned it, I'm taking the weekend off.
Well, I mean, this is something that we see around 4th of July, and we see it around Memorial Day and Christmas and New Year's and all these things.
Thanksgiving is big. A lot of money is being moved. Hackers want to steal it. And as in the case of Target, your top tier, most experienced staff are not there. They're celebrating with their families.
They're hanging out with their family and not paying attention to things like alerts coming through their email.
And I'm curious to know, because you do a lot of tabletop exercises, Matt, how many times do you do a tabletop exercise and the person in charge says, well, call me at 2 in the morning if there's a problem? They would call me.
All the time. I mean, it's one of our most common findings is a heavy reliance on a single person in the organization. Like, the CISO Becky really wants to be the one that everyone calls, but people sleep, people take vacations, that's okay.
Yes.
And if there's not somebody there to answer the phone, then what do you do at that point?
Yeah.
And that's where we get people a lot of times, because you get like these like deer in the headlights looks because they don't know what to actually expect at that point.
Yes, and also folks like managed service providers and third parties you rely on, how are they going to respond on the weekends, and who are their contacts, and are they paying attention?
Well, and they're probably suffering from the same problem. Like their most, experienced and senior staff is probably off. They have a skeleton crew in place. Yeah.
So why don't we talk about some of the big cyber attacks we've seen in the past few years and analyze them, and then we'll have some key takeaways for everybody.
Let's do that.
All right, where should we? I think we have to start with Kaseya.
We have to start with Kaseya.
I'm not kidding. I'm like dreading the 4th of July a little bit.
Yeah.
Because in 2021, it was the Friday right before the 4th of July,
Memorial Day.
The phone started. No, it was 4th of July.
Was it 4th of July?
Kaseya. The phone started ringing.
Oh, yeah, it was.
The
That's
emails
right.
started flooding in. It was like 3 or 4 o'clock, and I was like, where is our incident response team? Where's Matt and everybody else? And not only were you not in the office, you were out of cell service.
Yeah.
I think, we're having group therapy.
Okay, so what had happened was my team and I had decided that we were going to do a team building exercise that day because everything seemed like it was going pretty slowly, and we thought like, okay, we're just going to...
Beautiful.
It was a gorgeous day out. It was like 90-some degrees. Yeah. We're right by the Clark Fork River, and so we went and grabbed some tubes, and we hit the river, and decided we were going to go do just a nice leisurely float down, and we were going to pull out right at
we're in
LMG.
Montana, so there's not cell service in certain places. The most beautiful places on the river, in fact.
So that became a surprise, because the second that we re-entered cell service, all of a sudden all of the phones and all of our dry bags started going off all at the same time.
Yeah, because me and Karen were dealing with everything, the cyber insurance calls, everybody, and I don't know if you saw this. If not, I'm showing it to you now. What is this that I'm showing you?
What you're showing me is a chart that reflects when attackers tend to target organizations, and it showcases that in like over 80% of the cases that we've seen, they attack nights, weekends, or holidays.
91%, Matt.
91%.
This is a chart from a class that you teach, ransomware response. Just pointing that out. 91% of the time, ransomware payloads are deployed outside of business hours.
Well, the important thing is that we all learned something that day.
We learned that we're not doing incident response anymore. Hello, Surefire, our preferred partner for incident response. We now do proactive cybersecurity. But yeah, I mean, this is real. 91% of ransomware payloads are deployed outside traditional business hours, and people are not prepared, and particularly on holiday weekends.
Yeah, and I mean, with Kaseya, that turned out to be if we can take the hacker's word for it. I mean, that was the single biggest ransomware detonation in cybersecurity history.
Well, and that was very carefully planned because between April and June, researchers started to realize that there were vulnerabilities in the Kaseya product, which is used for remote management and maintenance. And there's thousands and thousands of companies and managed service providers that rely on this. And so they had a window of time of about 3 months to fix these patches before a normal window for responsible disclosure would be up.
Right.
So that would be early July. And just a couple days before that hit, all of a sudden the hackers used these vulnerabilities. They exploited these vulnerabilities on a massive scale. This was the REvil ransomware gang. And do you remember how much the ransom was?
70 million, I think.
70 million.
70 million. And the interesting, well, there were two interesting things about how they went about this. One of them was the way that they actually deployed the ransomware was through a faulty verification process in Kaseya's software. They sent their ransomware out as a software update.
That's right.
And that was how they were able to bypass security controls and go straight into the RMM system, and that was what detonated all over the country.
Friday, July 2nd, a day that will live in infamy in my head. I'm still angry.
I know, you're still angry.
You owe me a 4th of July beer.
Yeah, we still talk about this like every, 3 months, 4 months? It comes back up?
At least every 4th of July, man.
The other interesting thing, though, is that despite the fact that there were so many apparent victims of this ransomware attack...
Do I count as a victim?
I think you count as a victim now. REvil, or I can't remember if they were going by REvil or Today TV at that point. Yeah, one or the other. Either way, they basically refused to do business with the individual victims. They wanted Kaseya to pay the ransom, and that's why it was so high. They wanted a universal key.
A master. They had a master decryptor.
They had a master decryptor that would take care of all those victims, and they wanted $70 million for it, and that's what they wanted. Nothing else. They didn't want to go piecemeal through every one of those victims and try to, go, which I get.
Didn't law enforcement end up busting them and finding the master key and giving it to everybody?
There's speculation about how that actually went down, but regardless, a couple weeks after the attack took place, I think it was around the 21st, I think it was. There was all of a sudden there was this master decryptor that was available, and ironically, not only did it work for all of the victims of that one singular attack, it worked for all the victims of all the previous REvil attacks as well.
Yeah, so some people paid the ransom and didn't need to. They must have felt silly. I still remember, businesses, up to 1,500 businesses were hit, and this was one where the criminals could have done a lot more damage. They didn't steal data. Instead, things were shut down. Yeah. Like grocery stores. You visited one of those grocery stores recently.
I was in Switzerland, and I went to one of the store chains that was hit. Co-op,
they were down. So a lot of stuff was suddenly hit and out for the weekend.
Well, and I think that was, honestly, that was kind of a misstep on the REvil ransomware gang's part. I think they underestimated the sheer volume of backups that were available for all of their victims, because basically nobody ended up paying a ransom in this case.
Never say nobody.
Well, basically nobody. It was a very small, by the time it was all said and done, a very small percentage of people that were impacted by this actually ended up paying out a ransom to get their data back. The vast majority of the victims were just able to restore from backups. And because there was no data theft, they could basically treat it like, 2015 ransomware, where we just restore from backups and just forget it ever happened in the first place, right?
Back in the day, the good old days of ransomware, when it was just operational outages.
The one I was thinking of when I said Memorial Day, though, that was MOVEit.
Yeah, I kind of figured you were thinking of MOVEit. Yeah, so May 27th and 28th in 2023, the Clop ransomware gang started exploiting a vulnerability in the MOVEit file transfer software. And why are you laughing?
Because I remember when the notices started coming out about MOVEit, and as soon as we read, because Clop didn't immediately take responsibility for this attack, but as soon as it started coming out, we saw it pop up on Reddit, on our sysadmin, and all the other, a lot of the other forums that I visit. And the second we saw that it was file transfer software, immediately everybody started saying it's Clop. We know exactly who this is.
They go after secure file transfer software.
Yeah.
It's just
this was the third one they'd gone after.
Your crown jewels are in there. Sensitive stuff is in there. Why not? It's internet facing. There's going to be vulnerabilities. It makes sense.
But that was a very similar thing. So that was the one that was right before Memorial Day.
They timed this.
They timed it.
How long did they have those vulnerabilities?
So the speculation is they had the proof of concept of this vulnerability for close to a year before they actually detonated and stole that data. So they absolutely planned the holiday weekend as their target point.
So do you think there was somebody on their team who was like, it's right before Memorial Day weekend, the senior staff won't be there, we're going to deploy this?
In my head, when I think of them laughing exactly like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I actually think that's what happened.
No, that's exactly what it was. And remember, Clop's one of those franchise, ransomware as a service groups. They're very well organized. And so it would not surprise me if they had someone who's a project manager basically, who is scheduling when these attacks are going to take place and making sure everyone's in line and everyone has their ducks in a row.
They're a real business, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they want recurring revenue.
They do.
Progress Software, which made MOVEit, did not come out with any patch at all until May 31st, several days later.
That was pretty rough.
And I bet you their head developer was on a beach somewhere or at a wedding and was like, I'm not answering the phone. This is my time off.
Well,
that is pure speculation.
Could you blame them?
My point there is that it affects not just the customers of this third-party software, but also how does your vendor themselves handle this?
Yeah, well, that's an important question. You want to talk about Bangladesh?
I think we should talk about Thanksgiving first.
Oh, Thanksgiving. You remember emo turkeys?
No.
So there was a couple years ago, for those of you who are not aware, there used to be a piece of malware called MOVEit that was taken down by the Ukrainian government. For a while, they were considered to be the most dangerous malware on the planet.
And they get people a foothold. They got people. Are they still around?
No, they've been taken completely
They got people
offline.
a foothold into computers around the world.
Oh, yeah,
they were like that remote access Trojan tool.
Yeah, that's exactly what they were. Well, and they would steal data too, but for the most part, they were an access broker, more or less. And there used to be a series that we would see when we would run into a Ryuk ransomware attack. We would almost always be able to trace backwards and see MOVEit infection, TrickBot infection, and then Ryuk ransomware.
Yes, we saw that in the lab.
Yeah.
Please tell me emo turkey is like a happy turkey greeting card that infects you.
It's a turkey greeting card, but it's not happy.
Okay. Yeah. Does it not even look happy?
I mean, it looks like a very generic turkey, but yeah. So to explain what I mean by that, there was a campaign that the MOVEit actors embarked on that was right around Thanksgiving, and so they started sending out e-cards to a bunch of people, and the e-cards were Thanksgiving themed. They were turkeys and they were pilgrims and things like that, and what it ended up doing was infecting your computer with MOVEit. So yeah.
Wow. And that's not all that happens around Thanksgiving. I mean, I think what we've seen for well over a decade is that retailers process more transactions on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then the whole winter holiday season as well. And so that is prime time for hackers that are trying to steal money. And we saw that first in 2013 with Target, when hackers broke into first a vendor and then used that to gain access to Target's point of sale systems, and then siphoned off hundreds of thousands of, actually I think it was millions of credit, 46 million I think. Don't quote me on that. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yep.
Millions and millions of credit card numbers. And one of the things that was called out in the congressional report was that there were alerts. They received alerts that their point of sale systems were infected, but nobody responded in the United States. Nobody responded to those alerts. They had a team offshore that were monitoring.
Yep.
They sent alerts to their headquarters in the U.S., and nobody there responded over Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, there's a video that shows the data bouncing around,
Yes.
and it goes from Target stores back into India where the data center was, back into Minneapolis where the headquarters is, and nobody did anything.
And ultimately, this is a staffing issue because they, again, they had a skeleton crew. They did not have their senior staff monitoring alerts on the holiday weekend.
Well, and I mean, you have to think about it too with the sheer volume of business they're doing over that weekend and the sheer load on their systems. I mean, there has to be a lot of alerts for other things being generated at that point.
Right.
So, I mean, we run into alert fatigue in a lot of cases when we have that volume of data and information coming at us, and that may have played a role. Again, I'm speculating here, but
I know from one of our previous podcast that you were affected by the Dunkins attack.
I was affected by the Dunkins attack. They stole my Dunkin' credits.
I question your loyalty because you told me today you were also affected by Krispy Kreme.
We don't have Dunkin' Donuts here. I have to wait until I go to the East Coast to get Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about Krispy Kreme's Thanksgiving attack.
So Krispy Kreme's attack, which was right before Dozen Donuts Week, which was awful.
That's not fair.
I actually had to drive to Krispy Kreme to get the donuts.
As opposed to what?
Ordering them online.
Oh my God.
Yeah, their online sales system.
You need a little
went down.
exercise before you get.
It wasn't just their donuts, though. I mean, this did actually turn out to be a fairly big thing. So attackers were able to break into their internal systems. They were able to access the records of about 160,000 of their customers. They including me. I have a data breach notification from Krispy Kreme.
And Dunkin's.
And Dunkin's.
We gotta frame these.
It's like Pokemon, man. I have to collect them all. But yeah, they had to take their online ordering system and online payment system offline, and while it didn't cripple the business necessarily, I mean, it was a pretty good black eye for them. So
yeah, that's unfortunate. But I mean, there have been alerts. In fact, I believe CISA has sent out an alert in the past warning people of an uptick, a holiday surge in cyber attacks, and that's certainly around the holiday season. That's true because when there's more money flowing, attackers want to capture that.
No, it makes sense. I mean, that's why when we look at like Macy's with their Black Friday Magic Card attack, I mean, that's exactly what it was. attackers know exactly when those big shopping holidays are. And if you're an e-commerce platform, like Macy's runs an e-commerce platform, obviously they're expecting a lot of money to flow through there, and they're going to attack right around it. I mean, it just makes sense.
Cyber Monday is usually a hard day for cybersecurity professionals.
One,
yeah, because often ransomware criminals will try to attack on Fridays or Saturdays, get things locked up over the weekends, and then if you're not a retailer and you're not open over the weekends, you come in Monday morning and it's like, oh no, what just happened?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, why don't we wrap up with the Bank of Bangladesh?
Yeah, let's do that one.
This is a problem not limited to the United States. This is an international issue where criminals have gotten very professional. They are tracking holidays in multiple countries, and they are using it to get away with millions and millions, sometimes billions of dollars.
Attempted anyway.
Yeah. So in the case of the Bank of Bangladesh, they tried to steal $1 billion. They only got away with $81 million. Only.
What a waste of time.
But yeah, let's dig into this.
So with the Bank of Bangladesh, the
2016 to set the stage.
Yeah. What I really found interesting about this case study was the coordination between different countries and the holidays or days off that they go through.
So smart.
So when we're looking at, so we're in February right now.
Thursday,
February 4th.
2016, Jinx.
So attackers get into the Bank of Bangladesh and they start sending a bunch of SWIFT transfers off to the Federal Reserve in New York. And all in all, they tried to transfer about $1 billion out. Only 81 million of them actually got through.
A lot of them bounced because of spelling errors and things like that. At the time, the SWIFT network was not widely used with multi-factor authentication, which is crazy to me. You could be like, hello, I would like to move $81 million. And it's like, okay, no problem. We're just going to make sure there's no spelling errors. Like,
but,
they've since ramped up their MFA.
They're doing better now.
They're doing better now.
But what was... I don't want to give them too much credit. The timing was genius on this because they sent them all on Thursday, and so the Federal Reserve starts seeing these weird transactions from the Bank of Bangladesh, and they start trying to contact them on Friday to ask if these transactions are legitimate.
Well, they processed them, and some of them they bounced back and said, are they legit? But some of them got through. $81 million worth got through.
Yeah.
And when they did, the Bank of Bangladesh has Friday and Saturday as holidays.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way their society works. And so they received a bunch of notifications from the Federal Reserve. The criminals also deleted them, and the printer was broken. I think it may have been purposeful.
It was purposeful, yeah.
Yeah. So they didn't see all the messages back from the Federal Reserve right away, and they just had a skeleton crew, a very small team processing things on Friday, which was the weekend for them.
And so all this money went off to the Philippines, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. The money got transferred. The $81 million gets transferred to the Philippines and Sri Lanka. And in the Philippines, it gets withdrawn, loaded into a van, and driven off.
Yeah, they put it into paper bags and loaded it into,
And on Monday, everybody comes into the office and starts figuring out what happened. Like, holy cow, $81 million has been moved from the Bank of Bangladesh. Let's try to get it back. But unfortunately, Monday in the Philippines was
Chinese New Year.
It was a holiday. And so nobody was responding at all until Tuesday, at which point they start the cleanup, but the hackers are long gone.
Yeah, most of that 81 million, I think, was never recovered, if I remember right.
Nope. It was pretty brilliant. Nobody knows who did it. I'm sure they're enjoying their time on beaches around the world. But the point is that for at least a decade now, hackers have been getting very good at tracking timing, and they realize that is helpful for them in terms of executing their attacks and laundering funds.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, as holidays approach, I guess you guys are already through the 4th of July. I'm still scared. Next ones for you may be Labor Day or other ones around the world.
See how much more gray beard hair I have before the next podcast.
What can we do to protect ourselves when we're also trying to relax?
Yeah.
Number one, I think, is treat these holiday weekends as elevated threat windows. And that doesn't mean that your blood pressure goes up like mine. It means that we need to be prepared. So plan accordingly, staff accordingly, contact third parties that you rely on, and make sure that they're prepared as well, that they know who to call.
Next, make sure you have a system to both establish, evaluate, and then test your after-hours or off-hours response procedures. Remember, attackers don't care if you're open or not. In fact, they prefer that you not be.
Yes.
And so they will absolutely target you when you are the most vulnerable. So if you're not prepared at that point, you can't just assume that when you go to sleep, the hackers do too, and they're not going to hit you overnight. As we've shown already, they will.
I was working with one of my banking clients recently that said, well, part of our incident response plan is that before we call our insurer, we're going to get approval from our CEO. And I said, okay, what if it's a holiday weekend and it's 2 a.m? You may need to call your cyber insurance company because they're part of your breach response plan.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to approve your expenditures to help you decide if you're going to pay a ransom, get you assigned to a breach coach, your attorney. So you want to make sure that folks that are staffing on the weekend can make critical decisions and can make phone calls to your cyber insurer and people like that. I think that's really key and something that's often overlooked.
No, totally. Failing to plan is planning to fail. Just be real about that one.
That's a good one. Yeah. Okay, you're redeeming yourself.
Perfect.
Reduce your attack surface and harden your perimeter before you have a break. So if there's a patch that needs to be installed, make sure to do that before the long weekend and
wait.
not after. No, and I mean, always reduce your perimeter. If you don't need something to be accessible to the whole world, just, make your perimeter smaller and make sure it's not accessible.
Yeah, exactly. Next, and this is, again, I do tabletops all the time. It's my favorite one to talk about, but practice holiday drills in tabletop exercises.
Ooh.
So if your senior management and the top level members of your incident response team or your CERT are on vacation for Christmas, what do? Let's try it out.
Yeah.
And that way you have the luxury of testing out what's going to happen without there actually being an incident, because you don't want to do that on the fly, and you don't want confusion if something actually hits you around that time.
How do you do that in tabletops? Do you just throw them a curveball and say, what if this happened and it was Memorial Day?
I will literally have them leave the room.
Oh, I like that, and not answer their phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
then we will start asking questions to the rest of the staff. Like, okay, who's in charge now?
Yeah. I sometimes have them roll dice to see if the person picks up.
Ooh, I like that.
That's always interesting, and people are like, I hope, which is the same as in real life, right?
It is, yeah.
Finally, communicate your expectations beforehand to your staff internally, as well as to third parties you work with. I think the big thing that I learned from Kaseya was that often managed service providers were themselves not prepared for a major incident on the weekends, or even if they were prepared, they didn't have a contact at their customers' offices that was ready to receive their calls. So make sure that when you're talking about communication with third parties like MSPs or your incident responders that you rely on, that you know who to call and everyone's prepared to communicate on weekends or after hours, because what percentage of ransomware attacks happen after hours?
91%.
Oh, you do remember.
I do remember.
No floating for you.
Whatever.
Thanks so much, everybody. If you have a holiday horror story, we would love to hear it. Feel free to drop us a line, either training@lmgsecurity.com. Both of us are on that.
Yep.
Or hit us up on LinkedIn. Let us know if you have a cybersecurity story, an incident that happened over a holiday weekend. We would just love to know.
Perfect.
Thanks so much, everybody. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.